So, first of all, what I'm going to do is obviously today's session really is about making that shift from compliance. I mean, obviously, I'm not suggesting you don't do compliance. Compliance is fundamentally important, of course, it is, but also delivering many more services to your clients that are going to help them to improve their business and consequently their lives. And our two guests today are doing exactly that. Now, look, we know that there's been a lot of noise about transitioning from compliance into the higher value work because of AI, etc. I'll get some input from you on here as well as our guests on what your thoughts are on that. But before we go any further, I'm just going to ask our two guests to introduce themselves. I'm going to do it in the order that I can see you on. So, Catherine, you're at the top for me. So please do introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about your firm.
Hey, yeah, so thank you, Shane. I'm Catherine from Torbay Accounting. We are based in sunny Torbay. Myself personally, I've had over 30 years in kind of the finance industry. I've run my own businesses as well. I've got quite a lot of experience in running construction companies. And over the last 15 years, I've run my own practice, started from just a room in my house and has gradually grown. I've now got over 400 clients. I've got a team of 6 people supporting me to deliver those continued services. And I am massively into delivering client value, hence the whole, delivering these additional services to clients.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that, Catherine. Rachel?
Hi, I'm Rachel Chadwick Harrison, founder, MD, and chartered accountant, founder of Chadwick Accountants and Bookkeepers Limited here in not so sunny Bidford-on-Avon today, quite windy. We're about to celebrate our 5th birthday in just a couple of weeks, which is really, really exciting. I don't think I've stayed in a job for more than 2 years prior, so that's interesting. We have well over 600 clients now, and we are very nearly at the £1 million turnover mark. So it's been a wonderful growth trajectory. And if you ask my long-suffering husband, he would say that I never actually committed to this in the first place.
Excellent, thank you. And just to add to your credibilities as well, some of you will have seen our awards that we do both in person and, of course, streamed live on Zoom. And both of our guests here are award winners for the progress that they've made in their firms. And Rachel also was voted the most inspiring accountant award winner as well for 2026. So I just wanted to throw those couple of bits in there to start with. So I started saying earlier that, you know, we keep hearing about AI, how it's affecting compliance work, how accountants really need to shift more into delivering more added value services to their clients. Well, I'm not going to express my views on there, but what are your two views about that? Do you think it's hype? Do you think there is this necessity, this importance for accountants to make this shift? Or is it just an added bonus too? What would you say? Let's start with you, Catherine. Sorry, I nomination.
Yeah, no. So I think it's crucial. It's really, really important. I think it always has been important, certainly since I've started in practice. But I think the difference is now that utilizing the technology, utilizing the AI, it has freed up capacity. And I think if we're not consistently looking at adding value to our clients, it's really hard to differentiate ourselves from not just other practices, but actually, you know, invisible online providers that claim to, you know, do accounts taxation for clients. Like, how can we offer a higher service to those individuals without them feeling the need just to opt for some kind of online service? I think, yeah, it's really, really important.
Thank you. And Rachel?
Well, I definitely agree with Kat there. What I would say is I wouldn't be afraid of AI. I don't think we should be afraid. If you think back to when Zero first came on the market, there was a lot of fear in our industry that clients would be able to do their own bookkeeping and they'd be able to, you know, we wouldn't have a job. And that never happened. That never materialized because at the end of the day, they still need our expertise. And then, the other part of that, the advisory services, you have to evolve and change. I don't think that AI is going to replace our compliance work overnight. I think it's possible that it could do a hell of a lot of it fairly soon, but it's not going to know the not just the black and white, but the grey stuff that's there in the tax law. It's not going to have that, hands-on on the pulse what's going on that an accountant can give you. And I think it depends how your practice is structured as to whether you're going to be vulnerable or not. If your practice is structured on pure compliance work, there's no advice there, you're not supporting them with tax strategy, you are massively at risk. It is a huge risk, and you will have to adapt or do what a lot of accountants are doing, and they're just selling up because they're not adapting.
Spot on. So let me just dive straight in, I suppose, and understand from both of you. And this time I'll move to you first, Rachel, in the spirit of taking it in turns. What are the kinds of services that you well, both developed, but as I say, you to start with, Rachel, and is this something that you've been wanting to put in place for a while now?
That's a really good question, to be fair, Shane. And I think I made the mistake that a lot of accountants do when they start off, that I never priced advice. I just gave it away for free. That's quite a difficult transition then when you realize some clients obviously are really heavy on the advice and that your time, others are much more light touch. So I had to phase in service levels. So we have a gold, silver, and a bronze, bronze being compliance only, not really massively advisory. There is a minimum level of advice that will come with it, but it's not usually that way. Whereas silver is then massively proactive advice, doing all the tax efficiencies, etc. And then we did the gold package that we really developed after going to your wonderful business coaching session, where we now do one-page business plans with clients, proper coaching sessions, and we call it like a fractional CFO offering, because that's what it is. And those clients, some sign up for it monthly, some quarterly, and some fortnightly. So
Excellent, thank you. And Catherine?
So I have been doing these kind of value add services for some time. And I think, like Rachel, I wasn't appropriately charging for them. But I think more importantly than that, I wasn't offering it to everybody. And I now see that actually I should. I was kind of pre-qualifying people as to whether I felt that they could afford it, whether it was of interest to them. But what has been really surprising since going on the course with you guys at AVN, my whole mindset around whether it's my responsibility to pre-qualify clients or not has changed. And I think it's so important for me to make clients, whether that's existing clients or whether that's prospective clients, aware of what we do, explain it to them so they can see whether the values align with their values, and let them make the decision as to whether they want it. And then if it's a service that they feel would be valuable, then just making sure that that is delivered at a frequency and intensity that matches with where they are and where they want to get to. And so I think, whilst it's something I've been doing for some time, it's really only recently over the last sort of 6 to 9 months or so that I've upped my game here and started to be more structured in this, and more structured in how that's delivered as well. So, I think in my early days, although I was giving value to clients, there wasn't a particularly great framework there. And it would just be ideas. I was really intuitive how I'd work with it. And that's great in terms of the creative flow, but it does potentially mean that you're missing opportunities. Whereas if you have some kind of framework where you've still got room for that creativity, the framework will ensure that you are sweeping up everything that needs to be included.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
you're absolutely right, Kat. You really are. And I must say, I did exactly the same. You pre-qualify people and you think, oh, I'm not going to pitch that slide because they can't afford that. Well, actually, I've got a few clients that are on my gold package. One of them has it fortnightly and their turnover is only 50,000 a year. So they're paying me effectively a huge proportion of their turnover, but I'm happily propelling them. They're on a mission to get 300K next year, and they see that as the investment. But 6, 9 months ago, I wouldn't have pitched it at all. I would have just floated over that. It does, you can't pre-qualify people.
Yeah, it's so important. And what's really interesting as well is once you stop viewing the delivery of this service as a cost to your potential customer, and instead as what kind of return will they get on me doing this for them, and then your conversations take that format. So you're saying to them, what are your goals, what it is that you're trying to aim for, what could the financial situation look like there, how much is that going to deliver to your profitability? Okay, therefore, is it worth you investing XYZ in this? I think that changes the conversation markedly because it's not a dead cost, right? This should always be a return on investment. And I think if you can't demonstrate that to your customer, and if they don't believe that, then you shouldn't be proceeding with them. But it doesn't take much to get that value in there to make it worthwhile.
Agreed.
So another question, it wasn't in my predefined list, but just to throw at you. You talked about pre-qualifying, so could they afford this? And that's one aspect, arguably a subset of prejudging in general. So some of the things you've just said, a small client, many accountants might say to me, oh, my clients, they're not that ambitious. Or they might say, oh, they're too big. Who would I be to help them, to improve their business? Or I don't have industry knowledge, who am I to tell them? So there are two aspects here, really. One is, how have your clients felt about you approaching them in this way? Have they had any resistance thinking, you're my accountant, you just crunch the numbers, how could you possibly help me with my business? So that's one aspect. And then the other aspect is, how have you felt about approaching them thinking, well, they've got like a big business or a business that I know nothing about, etc. So again, I'm going to come to you first, Catherine, just in the spirit of taking it in turns.
Okay, so this is really interesting. And I think there's lots of things here that are intertwined. So first of all, everything you said there, I think resonates with us practice owners way more than it does with our clients. So it is really rare, in my experience, for a client to turn around to me and say, who do you think you are telling me this? In fact, that has never happened. I might have a client say, whoa, I'm not ready for this, or actually, I don't want the stress that comes with building a business. Of course, that is a message you hear sometimes. But I've never had anybody say, I don't think you're in the right position to help me here. But what's quite interesting is I have often felt, oh, am I the right person to do this? Am I suitably qualified? Could I really make a difference to this business? And the irony is, of course, I'm suitably qualified. I've been in the industry for more than 30 years. I've got a background in not just business, but psychology. I've run practices, but more important than that, and what would resonate with so many of the viewers that are on today, is we are all really good at spotting patterns with our client and identifying patterns. So we see these things trickle through in our day-to-day life. And I kind of feel like it's our responsibility to share those insights with people. And if through these valuable and powerful conversations, we can help that client alleviate some stress, save some time, improve their systems, improve their profitability, I feel we would almost be negligent by not giving them the opportunity to participate in that. So I think it's definitely a mindset shift. And I think once you have that mindset shift, it's, yeah, incredibly powerful. I nearly swore then by accident. So sorry, guys.
Well, I would agree with you, Kat. I've never been told, well, who are you to offer this? Never once. So do approach your clients. Pitch yourself. There's no reason why you shouldn't. And what's the worst they can say? No, thank you. There's nothing to be feared by that. What I would say is that for a long time, I kept seeing in people's books them paying a lot of money to business coaches, and I wasn't necessarily seeing any financial results from those. And I was thinking, well, my product is not even as expensive as that, and I know I could have bottom line impact. There's that aspect of it that people on this call probably see those in the accounts as well and wonder, could they do a better job? But for me, I mean, the financial stuff, I'm sure to all of us, comes quite naturally. The pattern spotting, being able to improve margins and really dig down into the data and the information. But for me, one thing the course gave me that I didn't have was a way to explore problems in the business and help the client come to a decision, even if you don't have that industry knowledge yourself, unlocking what the client already knows. And the more I sat in there and learned, I thought, Emma is my business coach, and this is exactly what she does with me. And I can't do it on my own. And if I pay Emma to do it, and she's helped me propel my business, then why can't I help others do the same?
Brilliant, thank you. There are an abundance of extra questions that flashed into my head as you were talking there, and of course now you've stopped. So one thing that came to me, I do have some prepared questions, but actually just on that, on the topic of approaching clients, you said, well, just ask. But is there a certain approach that you should take? I mean, we as you both know, I've gone off the word advisory. I hate it. Now, I appreciate some people use it, but I think, from my point of view, for lots of reasons, I've gone off that word. But, for an accountant speaking to a client, maybe that they've worked with for a long time, purely in a compliance remit, or maybe they're accustomed to giving away a lot of advice. Is there a kind of a way that you might approach a client differently to so that they see this as not just buy something else from me and we'll meet up every month? I don't know if I've done that the best way.
I got to admit, I nicked Kat's approach to this completely. We've, I think it's no secret, we've been sharing successes and helping each other. And her approach is fantastic. And it's simple and easy for all of us. It's a case of, looking at their year-end accounts, spotting the opportunities where they could have done better. Have they had a turnover dip, a margin dip, etc. Just asking, are you interested in having some help improving that? I mean, who wouldn't say yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, so that gives you a structured way of asking clients, which is really important. And I think being open-minded when you're having conversations with clients. So quite often people tell you something and you can ignore it as their accountant because you're so focused on data and numbers, but people will speak incredibly insightfully, whether they're conscious about it or not. I just had a call with a prospective new client this morning, and just their opening paragraph, my brain's pinging and I'm like, oh my God, they would really benefit from the business development service, because I can see them dipping into all the traps that happens when you start a new business. And so straight away off the bat, I was like, right, before we talk about compliance services, I've identified these things that you've said. They really resonate with patterns I've seen previously with clients. I want to really fast track your ability to get to a financially resilient business. I think as we do your onboarding, we need to book you in for a taster session, because I think there's some value you could get straight away from the beginning. Don't go through that kind of that repeating cycle of, test and fail and then try again. Let's just get you right from the beginning. So just being able to identify in those conversations the kind of statements that might resonate with somebody that could benefit from some help, and it could be things like, I'm doing lots of different things, but I'm not getting the results I want, or I seem to be working more hours than I've ever worked, but my profit is the same. Anybody that's saying that to you would benefit from some kind of business improvement support, and that's a couple of statements. You'll start to spot statements everywhere. It's like when you have a red car, you see red cars everywhere. It's the same thing. Once you get into this, you'll see opportunities left, right, and center.
Thank you. Just a quick question for the chat box, by the way. How many of you have seen in the accounts that clients are paying for a business coach, but like Catherine said, I think it was, that, that they're paying. Was it Catherine or Rachel who said that?
It was me. Yeah.
Sorry. I know, I just had that self-doubt then. But you've seen that in the accounts, but actually you've not really seen the progress, and you think, why are you paying all of that money and yet you're not seeing any progress? Just give us a yes or no in the chat box. It'll tell me that you're still listening, if nothing else. So yeah, okay. So lots of yeses with the occasional no in there. All right, thank you.
Too many times.
Okay. You've alluded to the course actually that you both went on. Maybe it's worth, just for the benefit of the audience, just sharing a little bit more about that, including what made you decide to attend it in the first place. And I suppose, what were the main sort of eye openers, if you like. What did you discover there? I mean, it's optional whether you want to blow smoke up my backside. But more importantly, as to what were the light bulb moments for you? Oh, sorry. I'll go with Rachel this time. I've lost track of who was first.
I was going to say Kat should go first on this one because I attended simply because Kat rang me and said, "Oh my God, you have to go to this." I was like, "Are you sure?" And she was like, "You will get so much out of it." And I was like, "Oh, I don't know, Kat." But I did, and I'm so glad she made me. That was exactly why I went, so she can tell you why she went to the first place. There were so many light bulb moments. I've already alluded to helping the business owners make the decision making, but being able to read body language better. And to be honest, a big part of it was the sales pitch, how to overcome different things that they might say back to you, the whole structured way of doing things. I think as accountants, we like process, we like system. And so it was really wonderful to see that. And I still refer back to the cheat sheet. Me and my husband sit on an evening with a cup of tea before we've got a big pitch and we read through it together and make sure it's all there. I mean, I must conduct several of these meetings a week at the moment now, and I'm still referring back to the cheat sheet and the different methods I want to use. And I know maybe one day it will become instinctual, but I'm still really, really enjoying it and feeling like I'm adding massive value to clients. And for me, every single client, I get what I call a golden nugget. There's a golden nugget in there that has really made a massive tangible difference to their business. And I make sure I write a very quick article and LinkedIn post for it every time to keep communicating the benefit that we're bringing to clients.
I love that. Yeah. And sorry, just before I move to you, Kath, something you said there. You mentioned the sales approach. Now, again, for a lot of people, the word sales feels a little bit alien and scary. Is it? I mean, it's labeled sales, but does it feel salesy? And I'm not trying to lead you there. How does it feel, the process that you use? So I'm just going to stick with you for a moment there, Rachel, and I'll let you answer that when you're sharing yours, Catherine.
I think I've never done what people call like hard sales. At the end of the day, I present myself, I present the company well, and we explore some areas that we could support with, and it is completely up to the client whether they take that or not. So it never feels salesy. It feels like a conversation of tell me the problems in your business. Okay, yeah, we can definitely help with those. Here's a couple of examples of how we've helped before with other clients who are similar and take it or leave it. And when they don't come back to you, I use another one of Kat's methods. And I message them a few weeks later. So you mentioned the problems X, Y, and Z. How are you getting on with those? Because guaranteed, they will have done nothing.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. So, Catherine.
Yeah. So first question, why did I attend the course, right? Yeah. Okay. So funnily enough, I had been up to see you guys and Holly was kind enough to drop me back to the station. And on the way back, I was like, oh, so what's all this course about then? It feels quite expensive for what it is. I don't know if it's worth me doing. And she was like, oh my God, like so many people have really benefited from this course. And I was like, but I'm already doing some of these services. Like, what could you possibly show me that I will get value from? It sounds a little bit big-headed. I didn't mean it that way. But so she was like, oh, well, there was this person that did it. They felt the same. And then this happened for them and it transformed their results. And they have since said that they're so grateful they did it. So I thought, okay, do you know what? I'm going to do it. It'll be a bit of a jolly up to London. Why not? I'll go anyway with an open mind. And I had an absolute ball. I really, really enjoyed it. And I enjoyed it for so many reasons. The quality of the course was excellent in terms of the relevance of the information we were being taught. How it was delivered was really good. I found it really engaging. There was a right balance between receiving information and getting a chance to sort of have a play around with that information. It was also such a wonderful experience to be in a room full of my peers who were also ambitious and wanting to, improve things for their clients because yes, we are all there with that commerciality aspect in our minds, but actually for me and a lot of my peers, our driving desire is to be able to improve the quality of our clients' lives. And this gives us that opportunity to not only be able to do that, but to be able to demonstrate we could do that so that they want us to do it. You know, at the end of the day, if we are really driven by improving people's lives and improving people's businesses, the better we get at having those open conversations and dialogues with people and inviting them into it and demonstrating how we can make changes for them, the more people that will say yes, the more people will participate on the journey, the more people will benefit from that. And it's not just them, is it? It's their families, it's the wider community. You know, it really is a kind of a knock-on impact. And I just think having that training and having that more structured approach, it helps with a more thought through delivery of the journey itself. And I think it did make me more confident in how I was positioning this to prospective clients as well, because I was removing my preconceptions around who would benefit. And I was quicker able to see a value on what I could do for that client. So I might say to them, okay, it's going to cost you XYZ, but you should get a return on that within 2 months or, 8 weeks or whatever the time frame was. And so I just think that whole package was really, really useful for me personally.
I'm thrilled to hear that. And yeah, I mean, all of my marketing, one chat with Holly, one chat with Kat. But anyway, I'm not. So
word of mouth is the most powerful tool. Recommendation.
Yeah. So Holly's laughing in the chat box as well. This was actually a question for later, but given what you've just said, Catherine, I will ask it now. What are the impacts that you're currently seeing on both the clients' businesses, but also how is that affecting their lives beyond it? You know, their health, their relationships, etc. Because I mean, again, I'm not trying to plant ideas, but I know that many business owners out there, even if the business isn't doing too bad, they're probably having to work stupid hours to keep it that way, which can affect life at home, can't it? So what are your, again, I'll just go to you first, Rachel. What are you what have you seen so far?
Well, there's obviously the financial impacts. And one of the things I think is amazing and I use in all my, shall we say, sales pitches is that, there is a little bit of an economic downturn and you see more and more clients struggling than you ever have. More and more businesses closing than we ever have. And what we noticed was every single client of ours on a gold package has either improved their net profit or improved their margins. So the financial impact is clear. And that's obviously not just what we're doing. They're putting the work in. They're the ones, we got these business plans. We're all working towards the same goals, but they're investing in their business by investing in us, and that's getting them there. But I've got some really amazing stories where, clients struggling to sell a business, not really getting the value for it that they want for it. And I work with them to completely exit the business. We've implemented an MD there. They're now taking a 6-figure salary out of that business. They are not working in it at all. We have a quarterly meeting now. That's it. They are not working in it at all. We've literally just switched to quarterly from monthly. I'm working with another set of clients on a 3-year plan to get them to exit the business. And it's so much about the resource that you're putting in there, managing that resource and making sure that everything's going to continue the way you want it to continue. And that just has such a huge impact on people, massive impact. But I had loads of examples. Just go read the website, read the LinkedIn, you'll find them.
Well, I'll tell you what, whilst I move over to Catherine, it would be great to hear one other if you want to just get one fresh in your mind. I think, it's those stories that really make this worthwhile, isn't it? The difference that we make to our respective clients. So, Catherine.
Okay, so I think the biggest difference that I make when I do this work with clients is moving them from a by accident position to an intentional position, because so many people I work with are where they are by happenstance. So maybe they were dissatisfied in their job, but they were good at particular skills, so they decided to do it on their own. Or perhaps their business has evolved in a way because they followed demand or they followed the money, etc. And in all of that process, when you're being driven by external factors, you can easily lose touch with what really matters to you and what's important for you. And I think the minute you start taking a client on this journey, you really bring that intentionality to play and you bring that to kind of center stage, really. And from that, you are able to help a client really see what motivates them. So once you've got their motivations, you can understand what's important. Once you understand what's important, they get so much better at allocating resources because people do things by default, right? And a lot of people spend a lot of time doing low value tasks that maybe aren't too difficult to do, but they don't really move their business forward and they might not even generate much money for the business. As soon as you bring intentionality in to a process, all of that stops and people focus so much on the things that really matter. And those are typically the things that will drive a business forward, that will generate more profitability for a business, that will make systems less frictionless. And so, I just think to be able to really change how a client thinks about day to day, about business, about moving forward, I think that's where we can be most valuable, really, because you unlock so much in doing that.
I love that, Kat. I'm adding that to my sales pitch. Intention.
I really like that as well. Yeah. Oh, there was another question. I would normally write my questions down, but I've just changed my setup. And every time I touch my desk, it wobbles like hell. So I can sit down and I'm standing, so I don't lean on the table. Yeah. I know what the question was, but I'll park it for a moment now because I'd asked you, Rachel, if you could just maybe just get another story fresh in your head. Is that something you've been able to do?
Yeah, I've got loads, Shane. It's from, there's obviously the big things, but there's the little things as well. And I was sat with clients the other day, and they were trying to make what I would say is like a knee-jerk decision. They put somebody into a management role. They knew it wasn't working. They knew this person had to go. And I completely agree with them. That makes perfect sense. This person got to go. And they were debating whether one of them jumps back in the business and holds the fort on this management role, and then potentially they recruit and move in, or if they put someone else in the role who does a different job right now, but they weren't sure how how he would react to being in that role, and they were stuck between these two ideas and they couldn't seem to see that there was any other options. It was either I go back in the business or I put this person here. And I was just and I was using the things that we talked about, like the blue hat, the yellow hat, etc., and exploring it and saying, okay, well, what if it doesn't work out with this person in this new role? What if he doesn't like the role? That's a lot of change to put this team through. They've recently had this new manager. It's not working out. Now we're going to make another change. And then we're not even sure that's going to work out. You going back in the business is a step backwards to what you're doing. So let's start exploring other options. Let's think outside the box. What else can we do? And we came up with the other manager will go in as an interim. Everybody's aware this is an interim arrangement. It is not like we are not slapping on this is the be all and end all. It is interim. We'll feel it out. If it works, we can then say it's permanent. If it doesn't work, we haven't upset them. We haven't made huge changes, and then we can go out and recruit again. But we don't need to make this decision now. We don't actually have enough information to make this decision. And going back in the business to fix it yourself is not the answer. Mm-hmm. And without us having that discussion, that never would have happened. They would have had a conversation with him. He would have gone, oh, I'm not sure. And then she would have jumped back in the business and gone backwards on her long-term plan. So I think it was a huge success for them.
Brilliant. Catherine, I didn't ask if you got any stories specifically to share. Do you have any? I know you've told me one before, but you were a bit...
Yeah. So lots of stories, nothing that I've kind of got... really great structure on right now, but general themes in terms of helping clients have those eureka moments, particularly around things they ought to be doing. I say ought to be, they feel they ought to be doing this. And then so when you start challenging those beliefs and they're like, Yeah, okay. Yes, I didn't even think of that. Those kind of scenarios are really nice. But yeah, helping people reduce the amount of time they spend in the business, that's something we see quite a lot. We could be working with people who are working 60, 70 hours a week and they've got young children, and you just think, oh, now that's tough, that's really hard, but they feel they have to do it. And then once you start stripping back some of the unnecessary work and getting them to focus on the key things, and it frees up some of their time. That makes a difference. People who are able to take holidays, who haven't been able to take holidays for a while. People who've been too scared to put up pricing for so long, and then they put up pricing and then they realize they've not lost any business. They've just got a whole heap more money for nothing. And they come back and they're like, oh my God, that's always a really nice sort of, yeah, nice scenario to be in. So yeah, lots of wins really. And that is typical. When you start doing this work with clients, you will get win after win after win. And some of the wins are on a smaller scale, some are on a bigger scale, but you do always get the wins. And that for me is such a privilege of a position to be in. It's what I really enjoy. I get a massive buzz from it. It's what I want to be able to do more of. So yeah, it's a great thing to be able to offer to your clients.
Wonderful. And actually, that question that I was parking up, I'm glad I did, because you've just opened the door perfectly for it. And the question is, do you feel, I'm not sure what the best word is, maybe vulnerable, thinking, okay, I've just committed to helping these improve their business. What if I can't deliver? What if they don't take the action? What if they want me to give them advice that I can't give? Or, those types of scenarios. Do you ever feel that kind of additional, maybe, responsibility that you've just committed to? I'll start with you, Catherine.
So funnily enough, not really, but I think that's because I've got the structure in place to make sure that either I deliver or I won't charge them. So I feel like I'm in a win-win and they're in a win-win. So with the taster sessions that I do, I frame that as an opportunity for somebody to have a look and explore how I might be able to help them by working alongside them. And it is very much they have to take action. And so I say to them, look, we'll go through some of the kind of the top line items. We'll look at pulling a few levers for you. We'll scenario plan, we'll cost that out. And at the end of that session, we should be able to demonstrate that the value of those changes will cover my fees many times over. And if at the end of the session you feel it doesn't, there's no charge. I'm not going to charge you for that. And if you feel there is a benefit, then you've essentially got three options. You can either go away and do with it as you please. I don't recommend that. And quite often people might do that and then they realize they don't get the traction, they come back anyway. But if you wanted a bit more breathing space, that's absolutely up to you. That's fine. Um, or you can switch to one of our plans. So that's either a quarterly or monthly plan. And that's really for people who are way more ambitious and they want to secure their chances of success. You'd want to be able to commit in advance. And we say to them, look, this isn't going to be easy. I want your commitment. Otherwise, I'm not going to take you on this program. So if you're the kind of person that doesn't do what you say you're going to do, you're not right for this program. If you're not feeling ambitious and driven, you are not right for this program. If you don't want to make more money for less time in your business, you are not right for this program. So I really kind of emphasize that with people, but also I give people the opportunity, because there are some people that have all of those qualities but they just need a little bit more warming up. So I say to them, we can do it ad hoc. It'd be less powerful because you've not got the same guaranteed accountability check-ins, but it'll give you chance to dip your toe in the water a little bit more. And by that point, we will have demonstrated results. So there's no way you won't want us to do it. Or if unusually it's not working, that's fine. There's no awkwardness, there's no commitment. We can go about as we were, it's no problem. So I think if you can offer those reassurances, those guarantees, and you are upfront demonstrating value to people, and then you are following through on your structured plan, and you are making sure that you're qualifying people on the right way, i.e. not affordability, but attitude and willingness to improve, then there is no way you're going to be in a situation where you're letting people down. There's no scope for that. You've got your guardrails in place to prevent against it.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. Rachel?
I've got to admit, I don't ever feel like I'm going to let anybody down. I always like Kat says, you pre-qualify this way, don't you? I always say to them, you will get out of this service what you put in. We will put actions on the board. There might be a couple for me, but they're mainly going to be for you to do. It's up to you if you do them or not. I can't make you do it. You've got to improve your business. And that's up to them to take those steps. And I find almost every meeting, the client's done at least one of the actions. They've probably not done all of them, but they've done at least one of them. And so you can see they're moving forward. And those who are really, really committed, they're doing as many of the actions as they possibly can, and they're moving things forward. So I never feel the accountability of I'm not going to deliver, because I am going to deliver at the end of the day. I'm agreeing to make a business plan with them, to put actions on it for us all to do, and to do my actions on it, and I will always do mine. It's up to them to pull their finger out and do the other side of it. I can't run their business.
Yeah, agreed. Thank you for that. I have got two or three more questions, but actually, just for the benefit of the chat box, now I've not loaded up the Q&A, but I will just do that now. If you've got any questions that you want to ask Catherine or Rachel, or indeed me, pop them into either the chat box or the Q&A. I'm happy with either. I've got them both loaded up on my screen now, by all means. So I've asked about the impact on your clients. What about yourselves? I mean, you both talked about, I'm using perhaps my words here instead of yours, but the joy of sort of making that difference and seeing the light bulb moments appear in people's faces. And I can absolutely relate to that. But what difference has it made to your business, financial, your team as well? Just gives a flavour for that. Now, I can't remember who went first last time, but I think, I'll pick on you this time, Rachel.
Okay, so what difference has it made to the business? I'm quite open with people on here that we used to have a flagship client, and they left in January 2025, and we were quickly plummeted into a loss situation where I knew I had to either get rid of staff or make a hell of a lot of sales very quickly. But I've been preparing for it. I was ready. I knew it could happen. It wasn't our fault. We knew it would go internal. The client was so big, we knew this was going to happen. So for us, I know you don't like the word advisory, but advisory services into the packages and doing it that way meant that come the May, June time, we were back at break even. And we finally last month, for the first time, hit our 20% profit margin that we'd been wanting to do, which is huge for us, absolutely huge. Like, we've gone from, being in quite a bad loss situation all the way up to now making the kind of profits that we want to make. So the financial impact is wonderful. And it's very similar, the things that we do there with clients. It's exactly the same sort of stuff. They can have exactly the same issues that we all have, bigger clients leaving, turnover, that kind of thing, a key member of staff going. Like, we all have the same problems, and we can definitely help each other get through them. So I just think that that you've got to put yourself out there. You've got to add these services in if you want to survive in the accounting industry.
Thank you. Catherine?
Yeah, definitely. So I think on a personal level, like, I love this. I really do. It's what lights me up. I love observing the impact it has on my clients. And when I'm doing this kind of work, I am not working. Like, this for me feels play. And, to feel excited about a day where I've got so many of these appointments booked in my diary, or I'm doing a specific task related to this, like, that is joyous. And to be in that position. And I think it was only a few years ago where I was so struggling myself with business overwhelm, and so being bogged down in inefficient processes and being the bottleneck. Now I love what I do. I mean, I love it. I really do. And so that for me is such a massive gift, and that is worth everything. In terms of the impact on my business, I think there's multiple ways. I think it's improved the quality of some of our clients, because, when we help them, they become better quality clients for us to interact with, because they get better at their processes, their profitability improves, they need more support and more services from us. I think it attracts a better quality of new business as well. You know, when you're presenting yourself during these new client consultations and you're explaining to every single one of those prospective clients, look, these are the services we offer. And obviously, you do the core service, the fractional CFO FD service. And then you're saying we also do this business improvement partnership service. Even if it's not right for them at that point, you are differentiating yourself from everybody else on the market because they know that they could have it if they need it. And I say this to people. I say, look, if these additional services aren't right for you now, that's okay. But they may be in the future. You wouldn't have to change accountants. You've got a one-stop shop for all of this support and all of this service. So you do attract a better credibility of clients, even for those who don't need it straight away. And I think in terms of my personal relationship with clients, when I work with people in this way, you just build this really beautiful, deep connection with those clients. And to have that kind of relationship with people where you're in this privileged position where they can share some things for them that are really important to them and really mean so much. And sometimes you see a rawness in all of this. I mean, that is such a beautiful position to be in. So yeah, just in every sense, I love doing this for my clients. I love doing it with my clients.
Yeah, and that certainly comes through. Thank you. Harish has asked a question which actually is very similar to my next question, so I'm going to combine the two of them. So Harish has said, do you charge separately for these services, or are they included as an add-on to your compliance fees? And my part that I'm just going to combine is, would you say that you're value pricing these types of services, or is it based on how much time that you're putting in to these services? Catherine first.
Okay, so the initial taster sessions, that's a fixed fee, and it actually works out below my standard hourly rate because I see this as an opportunity to demonstrate value to my clients. It's important you do have a fee attached to it because I think if you do it completely for free, from a psychological point of view, it is automatically undervalued. So I think to have a notional fee. So I charge £100 plus VAT for an initial taster session, usually takes me under an hour to deliver. And so that is very much attached to my time there and then. Going forward, it is on a value basis, and that it is connected to whether they want monthly support, whether they want quarterly support, whether they want ad hoc support. But there is then a delinking with my hourly rate because from the offset, I am explaining to them, well, if we're going to add, £100,000 in turnover to your business over the next 18 months, this is the fee that we're going to charge to do that, rather than I'm going to give you 3 hours of my time each month. The time I spend on it is irrelevant. It might take me an hour, it might take me 6 hours. It's whatever it takes me to hit those goals for them for that month. That's what is my responsibility. And they don't need to see how long it takes me. They just need me to deliver. And so we just agree in advance, this is the value we anticipate you to get. This is the cost for delivering that value. Therefore, you're on a 10 times or a 20 times return. You're happy.
Okay, thank you, Rachel.
Value-based, 100%. But in particular to Harish's question, charging separately, or are they included as an add-on? Well, it's kind of both, isn't it? So if they're already an existing client, then it's an add-on. But there are clients that I have who just have this service, which it's actually harder because you haven't got access to all the financials at the drop of a hat. You're asking their other accountant or potentially their finance manager for management information before the meetings, and you're never sure how accurate it is. So yeah, I do both. I charge separately, and I will add them as an add-on to the compliance fees, but the way we price is all transparent. It's all broken down so clients can see exactly what they're paying for.
And that's a really important point you made there, Rachel, about whether you take on clients who aren't existing compliance clients. So I've got a slightly different approach here. I will only take on clients on the business improvement partnership if they are already existing compliance client, because my caveat to them is if I don't have really close proximity to the data and to the insight, if it's not prepared by our standards, if it's not illustrated in a way that works for how we deliver it, I can't possibly give you the best value. And that is quite nice as well, because it then means there's more work coming into the team as well on the compliance side, rather than just offering only that business improvement partnership, but it is a personal preference, obviously.
Yeah, I think that a lot of what you do, Kat, correct me if I'm wrong, focuses very much on the financials, improving the margins, improving the take-home pay for the owners, where I find that is a small part of what I do. It is part of it, but it is a small part. I can often focus more on the people, the marketing, the positioning of the business. So I find I spend a lot more on the business running aspects of it. But then that's to each person and their personal preferences. And I think that will always be guided. And it's the same with any business coach, isn't it? You're going to be guided by your own strengths and almost your own that things that you like doing the most, if that makes sense.
So I do take a very holistic approach. Everything is grounded in the financials. But yeah, I think like you say, it takes longer, doesn't it? It's harder to do that service with those clients. But yeah, just like yourself, I very much look at the business picture as a whole, but constantly trying to tie that back to, okay, well, how does this affect the financials?
Yeah, maybe I could do more of talking
Sorry,
about.
just in the interest of time, I get that this could keep going.
We could be here for ages, Shane.
Yeah, I know. So look, I've got. It's funny. I was just thinking, oh, no more questions. Then three came up instantly. The old cliche, isn't it? But so let me just very quickly convey these, because actually there's something else I'd like to do just before this finishes as well. So one from Maylinda. My concern is that they don't meet the planned outcomes that you've charged for. Has this happened to either of you? I know I asked something similar to this earlier. So yeah, let's just address that one.
Well, yes, sometimes they don't meet the planned outcomes, but generally there's not one planned outcome. There are several, usually a minimum of three, and guaranteed they'll hit one of them. That's what I would say. But I would say it's rare that a client actually meets all of them. With the best intentions in the world, none of us have a crystal ball. We don't know what the future holds. And, you can be working towards them and suddenly they lose their key member of the team. Priorities change. You adapt with them. That is part and parcel of working with a client.
Yeah. Do you have anything to add to that one, Catherine?
Yeah, I completely agree. The whole point of the step-by-step process and the whole point of having targets and goals, it's not a tick box exercise. It's not we did that, we're done. It's okay, this is what we were aiming for. This is what actually happened. Why did it happen that way? Is there still scope for improvement? If it didn't happen how we wanted and it wasn't successful, why? Let's keep fixing this. And successful businesses aren't from having a great plan and just getting it right. They are the kind of businesses that keep staying in that evaluation loop. And that is the kind of mindset we want with our clients. So if we're not reaching the desired outcome, will we go again? We keep doing that and we keep doing testing and we do some split testing on different options, on different ways forward. And I think that's the key thing. You've got to consistently show up and consistently put that effort in and be open to, okay, well, what else do we need to change? What else are we looking at? What haven't we explored? What happened here? And as long as you keep providing that support with that process, your customer's going to want to keep engaging with you because you're not giving up.
Yeah, and if you take it from a different perspective as well, a running coach wouldn't promise somebody that they'll be able to do a marathon in a certain time. Their value comes from giving them the techniques to improve themselves as much as possible and keep working on those things, isn't it? Quick one from James Hill. Catherine, if your fee is based on the expected outcome, what do you do? Oh, sorry, it's pretty much the same as the last question. They came through at exactly the same time. So I think we've addressed that one, James. One from Alex. This may be the same. I'm not ready yet. It's a bit longer. How do you deal with scope creep on advisory services stroke balancing with the demands of existing clients? For instance, the clients we've just taken on tried using business advisors to improve profitability, etc., with no success. We've now come into the rescue. I've had to embed myself in their finance team to get to grips with all the elements of business operations. I enjoy this kind of work, but it's significant investment in time. Thanks for that long one, Alex, and apologies for reading it out very badly. Who wants that one? Gives a wave the hand.
I think we both, I think every firm has this problem, right, Kat?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
I don't know. Well, for a start, Alex, if you're just putting for compliance services, I certainly wouldn't be doing a lot of what you're doing right now. As early as identification with these things, as early as possible is
Yeah.
better. You will always get scope creep, especially if you've got a bigger team or even any team member, because they themselves have to learn to value their time, value themselves, understand that um, that they're effectively giving away your money for free by giving advice to clients who don't pay for it, and that takes a lot of mind shift change. For us, it's process. I know a lot of firms don't like it, but we do timesheeting, and it is brilliant for seeing if clients are doing scope creep, because I can very simply throw it into AI against budgeted time and say, highlight to me areas where there is current scope creep. So then I've got an AI telling me, XYZ customer, you need to have a little look at these, and I can go in and identify, is this a one-off thing, or is this advisory now being repackaged as compliance? And I just have a conversation with the client. It's not difficult. I actually, for the very first time recently, the first time a client actually pushed back on it. But for every single one prior, they've all gone, yeah, you're right, we have overstepped. We're happy to accept the new charges. So I always just go out and say, look, you're using the XYZ. It's not part of your original package. This is the original package you had, because we're always very transparent with the pricing. Here's a new price going forwards. Generally, a lot of the time I won't back charge them. Sometimes if I feel it's necessary, I will, but I might put a discount on there just to so I'm not losing money. But the vast majority of clients, so they understand that they have gone over the scope, and that's just about being transparent with your pricing, what it's based on in the first place, and just don't be afraid to have that conversation. This isn't what we agreed. It's like going into the hairdressers and you booked in for a haircut and saying, I want a full color. You can do my nails while you're at it. We understand the scope has changed. The price will change.
Absolutely.
And I think
Thank you.
that's where it helps having that clear transparency up front, doesn't it? If your proposals going out to your client are really clear, then you've not got that ambiguity going forward when things change, for sure.
Good stuff. Thank you. Very quick question for the audience now. Has this been inspiring to you? Give us a yes or no in the chat box. I dare you to put no.
I'll hunt you down.
Okay, lots of yeses coming in. Look, obviously, Catherine and Rachel both attended my course, and I would very, very quickly like to just share with you how you can get yourself booked on there if you've been inspired by this and would love to start delivering in a more structured manner with confidence, etc. How you can do this as well. Very quickly though, whilst I'm just loading this up, people might be on here thinking, I'm already snowed under with the compliance work. How could I possibly devote time for this? What would you say to that? Starting with you, Catherine. Let's try and keep this short and sweet if I may.
Okay, so read a book by Dan Martell called Buy Back Your Time.
That is very true. That's a great book. Delegate, guys. Like if you are sat doing the compliance work, you are not doing the value-based work that's bringing the finances into your business, and you're going to be stuck in that loop. So you need to delegate it 100%.
Brilliant. And I think we also address some of those things on the course, don't we? Now, I've just loaded up a screen share, and I'm just going to enter in the chat box how you can get to this page as well. Hopefully you can see my screen. This is your way, this is your route to get on that same course that Catherine and Rachel attended. And it's your last chance for 2026 as well. So the very last one is going to be in September. Okay, now you can see the normal price there, but I've got a bit of a special offer for you as well. So all you need to do, if you go to this site and click the Secure My Place, the button is in lots of places. The very last one we're doing is in September, okay? And it's in Chesterfield. If you click that button there and then pop in this code, which I'm just about to also put in the chat box. Now, make sure you take note of this. It's case sensitive as well. All right. So if I just move down to here, if you pop this code in here and then tick the thing, tick the tick, okay, and it'll say it's invalid. Why is it saying it's invalid? It wasn't invalid 5 minutes ago when I tested it. Oh, it's because I've got a space after it from my copy. Let's just try that one again. There we go. Then you'll see that that will reduce. If you want to spread your payments over 3, you're more than welcome to, and that will reduce your first payment right down. Look, you've already seen the emotional and financial benefits of delivering these kinds of services to your clients. So I can't recommend it enough, but this will be your last chance for this year to attend. So my recommendation is, if you haven't already, click the link now and copy the code. Make sure you don't have that space at the end like I did, and get yourself booked on it. That code will expire at midnight tonight, okay? And it gives you currently a £300 discount off of that normal fee. All right, so I recommend do that now because, again, I mean, I've deliberately put the urgency in place. You've got to book it by tonight because, let's face it, if you don't do it today, you're never going to get around to it, are you? And then suddenly it's gone. All right, so I just want to say thank you very much to you, Rachel, to you, Catherine, and to all of you who have listened till the very end as well and contributed in the chat box. Yes, please join me in thanking our 2 guests today. It has been incredibly inspiring and also moving just to listen to some of the stories, the impact it's having on obviously yourselves, but your clients and the likely impact it's going to have on their families as well. So thank you very much for that. Yeah, as Holly says, AVN members get a discount as well, but get in touch with us for that one. Brilliant. Okay, so I will bid you a great afternoon. Thank you, everybody, for attending today. And yeah, lots of thanks still coming into the chat box as well. So fantastic. All the best to you. Bye-bye.